Fantastic. So now we have more attendees coming through. I shall now begin the session, and thank you very much for all of you who have joined us so far. It is an absolute pleasure to have you all here today. Once again, I would just like to introduce myself. So my name is Ilya Pike. I'm the director of the Tajik British Chamber of Commerce, and our role today is to moderate this session. The Chamber itself looks at promoting bilateral relations in the area of trade between the UK and Tajikistan, as well as hosting various investment promotion events and events such as these. We are today joined by a very distinguished set of panel guests, and our session will very much look at the education sector today, as well as how the UK and the Tajik education sectors can potentially work together with each other. The session itself will be broken down into multiple panel parts. Again, each panelist will have a maximum of 10 minutes to present themselves, as well as what their organization is about and what it is that they're looking to do in the future. And additionally, we also have a few ground rules. The ground rules themselves are relatively straightforward. We have the panelists who will be given a turn to speak, and any questions that we would like to have for the panelists can be put into the chat, and we should present them at the end at the Q&A session. So without further ado, I'd like to proceed to present to you the speakers that we have here today. And I'll give them the ability to, again, introduce themselves very briefly for a maximum of 60 seconds, just that we know who is here. And then we'll proceed to actually go into the panel session itself. So I'd like to hand over to His Excellency Ambassador Masoud Khalifazadeh just to make a very brief introduction.
Thank you, Ilya. Can I start to make my speech, or just for a short introduction?
Just a very short introduction, very much. We'll just go through on the way.
Yeah, thank you. I'm ambassador of Tajikistan here in the United Kingdom. I was appointed 2 years ago, and today we organize an event on education sector in order to identify what we can make from our side in order to develop cooperation between Tajikistan and the UK in the education sector.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We will come back to you as our first panelist. And now I'd like to introduce Jocelyn Smith, who is our Chevening in Global Manager. Jocelyn.
Thank you, Ilya, and good morning, everyone. My name is Jocelyn. I work for the Chevening Secretariat as the Programme Manager International. And the Chevening Secretariat runs the Chevening Scholarships and Fellowships. These are awards that are given in over 160 countries and territories, including Tajikistan. And my role in the Chevening Secretariat is that I work with British embassies and high commissions across the world to market the programme and to recruit the scholars each year. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. I'd like to now move on to Pro Vice Chancellor Chris Chang of the University of Portsmouth.
Thank you, Ilya. My name is Chris Chang. I'm the Pro Vice Chancellor for Global Engagement and Education Partnerships at the University of Portsmouth.
Thank you so much. Now I'd like to move on to Dr. Amina Wakefield of the Cambridge Worldwide Academy.
I'm Dr. Amina Wakefield. I'm the Chief Executive and Founder of Cambridge Worldwide Academy, which is an institution, British institution that specializes in the export of British education. And I'm here basically to showcase an example, or probably the first example, of a partnership between Tajikistan and the UK.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wakefield. We shall now move on to our fifth panelist, which is Anissa Sabiri, the director of the Tajik Cultural Centre here in London.
Thank you, Leah. I am Anissa Sabiri, and I'm a Chevening alumna, and at the moment I'm running the Tajik Cultural Centre based in London.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anissa. We also have an additional guest with us from the British Embassy in Dushanbe, Parviz Jamalov.
Hello, everybody. I'm a Press and Public Affairs Officer here in British Embassy Dushanbe, I'm also managing our projects fund here locally, and I'm also responsible for coordinating Chevening scholarship program in Tajikistan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Parviz. So now we've gone over the panelists that we have. And again, the audience is welcome to create any questions that they may have now or in the future for the panel session to then go through in the Q&A section. Now that the speakers have introduced themselves, I would like to go into a little bit more depth into the individual presentations of each speaker. I'd like to turn to His Excellency Ambassador Maslouk Khalifazoda, and again, just to go over a little bit more detail about the type of work that has been done so far, and where would you like to see UK education and Tajik education actually go in the near future?
Thank you, Liam. Thank you for that. First of all, I would like to appreciate the Portsmouth University and the Tajikistan British Chamber of Commerce, especially Mr. Chang, Joe, Ilya, for organizing this event on such an important topic. I will not waste your time with any unnecessary information, and would like to try to focus on the main areas and issues that my embassy worked and focused on. Education is one of the main bases for economic and social progress of any state. The well-being of any state and its development mainly depend on the level of education of its citizens. It's becoming obvious that in the age of globalization, the exchange of information by specialists, scientific research, this basic condition for the economic and social success of any country. That's very clear. That's why the president of Tajikistan has identified education as a priority for the government. And the government constantly has continued reform at all stages of education and eliminating existing challenges step by step. The main target for us is to attract more Western educational and science institutions to Tajikistan. There are actually several success cases in Tajikistan of opening educational institutions with a Western education system, as for example, the Cambridge Worldwide Academy. I hope Dr. Amina will tell more. Or, for example, the University of Central Asia, which was opened by Aga Khan Foundation in the Badakhshan area of Tajikistan. So 2 years ago, when my president, during the launching ceremony of the Cambridge Worldwide Academy in Dushanbe, he asked the former British ambassador in Tajikistan to assist of attracting the UK educational institution to Tajikistan. At the same time, he expressed a desire of the government to comprehensively assist to achieve this goal. The same message was made during my appointment. That's why, as I entered British soil, I began to actively visit the UK universities to establish cooperation. There was a plan, there is a still plan to visit most of the UK universities as much as possible in order to inform them about the educational policy of the government of Tajikistan, invite those institutions to Tajikistan in order to establish cooperation and partnership with universities of Tajikistan, to establish exchange and training programs, and try to open a branch of the UK university. This is actually how I got to the University of Portsmouth, met these beautiful people, and we immediately found common ground and decided to cooperate. Before pandemic, beginning of this year, a delegation of the University of Portsmouth was supposed to visit Tajikistan, where they were supposed to have a meeting with not just with Ministry of Education and Science or Academy of Science and leading universities, but also with representatives of private sector, with business sector. But unfortunately, the pandemic, we postponed this visit, but I'm sure that we will do it as soon as possible because they have very big and long-term plans. Parallel education is another interesting part and very useful model for Tajikistan. This model, which the student can study for a certain fixed period in their home university, and then they can progress to abroad to finish their education. This model is very popular and very well known among students and Tajikistan educational institutions. There are already some success stories of cooperation between universities of Tajikistan and abroad. It's very important to say also some words about English training courses in Tajikistan. English is the language of politics, law and economics, entertainment, travel, business, music and arts. This is very well understood in Tajikistan. That's why the president at the language day said that each of our citizens should try to learn English. There is a huge demand for learning English in Tajikistan, and our side is ready to provide the necessary infrastructure if needed in order to establish English training courses in Tajikistan, because now sometimes it's very hard to find a place with the high quality English courses in the country. That's what actually we also try to make here in the embassy. We already created a cultural center, Tajik Cultural Center in the UK in order to foster cooperation in education, cultural and arts between the UK and Tajikistan. I hope Anissa will tell more about the center. And one of the projects, and hopefully by the new year, we will launch courses to study Tajik, where it will be also possible to study English through Tajik language. And in this direction, our side, in my embassy, really need cooperation from the British Council. The British Council is not so active now in Tajikistan, but we will definitely continue try to attract them and their program to Tajikistan. Another important area we would like to intensify our work is to convey to our citizens the information and those possibilities of studying in the UK. There are many scholarship programs in the UK that our citizens is not so aware. The most popular scholarship is the Chevening Scholarship and Jones Smith Trust. That's good that in Chevening, it's an important condition of the scholarship is that it assumes that the student travels to the UK to obtain unique knowledge and then returns to apply it in their home country. On one hand, we would like to apply to increase the quota to the Chevening scholarship for Tajikistan because there's a huge demand on that. And on the other hand, we are ready to work with the British side in order to increase the effectiveness of the Chevening program. For example, we would like to know who graduated from the program, where are they, how we can help them to be successful, how we can help them to serve our country, including our bilateral cooperation, what we should do from our side. Last but not least, the pandemic was a sudden test, not only for the healthcare system, but also for educational institutions. They all over the world were forced to switch to the new online format. Online training will become maybe not the basis of global education, but it's integral and rapidly developing part. The development of online education provides an excellent chance for countries such Tajikistan, which is maybe a little bit far from the world centers of education, but we definitely could squeeze the maximum of online education system. So it's definitely the future of education, and we should be in line. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. That was, again, very, very interesting. We have had some very, very good points. As you have said, the various institution cooperation is highly important. Again, joint programs, the demand for language learning, and the creation of, well, a great example of the cultural center is, again, fantastic initiatives that I think will do tremendously well in the near future. You have actually mentioned that the Shivning Scholarship plays a very big role in motivating and, again, developing a lot of Tajik students, whether it's just in the language side alone and plus in what they can do to greater society. I'd like to now move on to Jocelyn Smith, who is the International Program Manager for Shivning, and just to find out a bit more about the Shivning Scholarship and how that plays in the macro side of things.
Yes, so the Shivning program started in 1983. And as I mentioned before, it's the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office's global program. We offer scholarships and some fellowships to applicants in over 160 countries and territories worldwide. The program also runs in Central Asia, including Tajikistan, and has been running for over 22 years in Tajikistan. So it's got a long history there. And I currently work with Parviz in the British Embassy out in Tajikistan. And we have actually seen in those 22 years, approximately 120 Shivning alumni, which is fantastic. And we have scholars who are currently studying in the UK from Tajikistan. So I hope that just goes to show the sort of the long-standing reputation of Shivning globally, and also in Central Asia and in Tajikistan itself. As for the program now and in the future, obviously we've all been affected by the pandemic, and that has challenged us in the way we work, but also created a lot of opportunities as well. And you know, our alumni are our biggest asset, and we are very keen to increase our engagement with our alumni and to support them in their endeavours to, you know, fight global challenges and to create lasting positive change. And I'm sure Parviz can tell you a little bit more about, you know, the scholars who have benefited. Indeed, Anissa is one of them, so it's very nice to have her on the call as well. But yes, I would say in terms of looking forward, we are committed to our alumni and to the work that they do, and we support them not only obviously through their scholarship, but then afterwards as well. And we are committed to, you know, developing bilateral relations with governments in all the countries where we operate Shivning. And we continue to work with partners. Obviously, the Shivning program being so vast, we are grateful for our partners who provide over, or help us to provide, an additional 400 plus awards each year. So that's a massive contribution, and we couldn't continue the work of Shivning without partners, and that includes NGOs, private companies, UK universities as well. So I hope that just gives a brief intro into Shivning, and I'm sure Parviz will be able to expand on that when he talks later.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Again, this is a fantastic program that many students have benefited from and have gone on to do very great things. And you've actually touched upon a very important point, that being said, that the role of actual UK universities themselves plays, again, a dramatic impact on how the program pans out and what kind of students we have that come over here, what they do, what they study, and how they collaborate with institutions in Tajikistan. I'd like to actually move on to our next panelist, who is the Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of Portsmouth, Chris Chang, just to find out a little bit more about the practical perspective from a university standpoint as to, again, the kind of student opportunities that you cater to, how you perhaps see yourself collaborating with education institutions in Tajikistan, and again, even developing infrastructure or anything else that you see in the future relevant to what we're kind of talking about here.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me for this webinar. Yes, Tajikistan is one of the countries that we have been working with for the last, I think, 12 to 24 months, and His Excellency has been very supportive of our collaborative effort. As the University of Portsmouth, as you know, we are a relatively sized university with 27,000 students from 150 countries. Part of our strategy is to develop our global reach across the world, and particularly in Central Asia is one of those areas that we've had in the past very little engagement with, either for cultural reasons, historical reasons, or whatever. But it's one area that I'm always confident that the time has now come for us to look at Central Asia, particularly countries like Tajikistan, to see what the opportunities that we can work with. One of our commitments at the University of Portsmouth is the fact that we want to be able to offer education to all students, and also to try and benefit those students who may not be able to join us to study. The Chevening Scholarship is great, and we support it, and we work with the Chevening Secretariat to support these students when they apply to us. But that's one way, but not everyone can afford to come over to study with us. So part of the opportunities that we are looking at is to see how we can collaborate with partners in Tajikistan to deliver a number of our programs in Central Asia that will reach out not just to Tajikistan students, but students from the other parts of Central Asia as well. Because that is one area of the world that I think most UK universities do not have a huge presence. And I think the time is right now, with the world being such a small place and with technology as it is now. I mean, one thing the pandemic has taught us is that we don't need to do things in the way that we have done. The technology and the way that we now communicate using Zoom and all the other different channels will enable us to deliver programs abroad in a more effective way. And the fact that all universities and all our staff need to deliver some of their curriculum now via online methods means that not just at the University of Portsmouth, but other universities will be more able and prepared to be more agile in the form of the delivery to enable it to reach students who may not easily have access to the kind of education opportunities in the UK. So we were keen to explore that. We want to learn from the pandemic, make use of the skills and knowledge that my colleagues have developed using online delivery, digital delivery in a way that can enhance our collaboration in Tajikistan. The other aspect of the work that we want to do is to explore research opportunities. At the university, we have identified 5 different research themes, particularly in the area of health and well-being, security and risk, sustainability and environment, democratic citizenship, and future emerging technologies. And some of these include things like we are the university that developed the enzyme that can eat plastic, the PET, peptase plastic, more efficiently, and they've now developed that into speeding up that enzyme deterioration of plastics. And that is being funded partly by the government in establishing a research center. We are doing a lot of work in things like environment, in the blue economy, the strategy in terms of managing our the environment in water, etc., and also future emerging technologies in terms of drones, technology, security, etc. So what we value at the university is opportunity to collaborate with partners and institutions abroad. We want to give the opportunities to our staff as well as our students to explore these opportunities to develop the global mindset. So where there are opportunities to work with partners in Tajikistan, partner universities, partner organizations, to see what are the areas of research we can work with, that would be useful. But at the first instance, I think our main priority in working with His Excellency and his colleagues for Tajikistan is to see what opportunities that we can work with to deliver education in that country in a much more efficient and affordable way to its citizens, and perhaps also reach out to the other parts of Central Asia as well. So I hope that covers our intention. I'm happy to take further questions after this, Ilya.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chris. And again, it's quite fascinating that given the recent developments we've had in the world, the technology will be playing an even greater role than it already has. And again, this has enabled universities and other institutions to more effectively engage with the community in places where they perhaps have never really gone before. Which again nicely brings me on to the practical aspect of education and facilitating it as almost like an export industry, which has been very successfully done by our next panelist, Dr. Amina Wakefield, who is the founder of the Cambridge Worldwide Academy. And Dr. Wakefield, you have actually set up an entire British institution in Tajikistan, and all the ancillary services and production required to completely fit out the school. Could you tell us more about the practical side of how that was achieved and a little bit more about what you're looking to do?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about this example of private partnership between UK partner and a Tajik partner. Cambridge Worldwide Academy was set up a couple of years ago. In the first year, we opened nursery and primary, and last academic year, we opened the secondary. This example actually is very important, purely because it doesn't just cover the aspects of teaching and learning, and we see numerous partnerships between different countries where you have articulation agreements, where you have progression agreements, where you have recruitment of students, where you have student exchange, teacher training, basically different activities, but they're all centered around either the mobility of students between the two countries or sometimes staff or just recruitment. In our case, we basically represent partnership at all levels of the ecosystem for education. So we basically had to cooperate in terms of construction. So the first stage was actually building. And when you actually build any type of infrastructure, you touch on so many areas and aspects. So you're talking about building materials, you're talking about materials used in decorating the building, you're talking about fitting the building with all types of equipment resources. So we're talking about a huge industry just in construction. This for us actually, or for Cambridge Worldwide Academy, it was a learning curve. It was learning about how cooperation could be extended beyond education into another aspect. And I'm hoping that through the work that the Chamber is going to do, which is actually to open the dialogue between different sectors of industry, commerce, and business in Tajikistan and in the UK, and to actually start exploring areas of collaboration, because there are huge opportunities beyond the education side where the two countries can cooperate. For example, through construction, we learned that there were certain skills that were not available in Tajikistan. Certain tasks we had to do while training the labor force to actually execute those tasks. When you talk about, again, setting up an education institution, you're talking about equipment that meets certain standards. We had to import basically most of the equipment. Furniture, we couldn't find furniture. We had to manufacture furniture. in Tajikistan for the school. This is another area that opened up again or highlighted basically some opportunities in Tajikistan where the British side could work with the Tajik side in manufacturing. And manufacturing could go beyond manufacturing for the education sector, but manufacturing as a whole. When you talk about, again, technology, IT, and so on, there is again another area we had to tackle and to find solutions that sometimes were not available in Tajikistan itself, but we had to actually rely on the expertise or products from other countries. Again, there is an opportunity here for cooperation between the UK and between Tajikistan. Hello, I'm not so sure I'm still online. Am I still online?
Yep.
Okay. So when I look at collaboration and partnership between the UK and Tajikistan, I see numerous avenues where this partnership could actually be developed. And when we talk about, again, the education side, Cambridge Worldwide Academy in Tajikistan is a feeder institution to higher education in the UK. And I'm hoping that whoever is listening to this webinar could contact us if they are interested in recruitment and progression of our students to their universities. Also, Cambridge Worldwide Academy is again presents another opportunity for higher education in terms of collaboration in research. And I have been approached by a few institutions interested in a number of activities to do with us. We are currently setting up a consortium of British universities interested in working with Cambridge Worldwide Academy on a number of activities. One, as I mentioned, articulate agreements for the students to progress to the UK. All our students will be doing A-levels, so that's basically the secondary qualification of choice at the university. We are a Pearson accredited center, so basically the qualifications the students will have are accepted by education institutions in the UK and worldwide. We have another opportunity for higher education in terms of foundation programs, and we're talking to a number of universities interested in setting up their foundation program in our school. We have another program to do with 1+2, another program to do with 2+1, and we are considering at the moment a proposal from one British university who actually expressed interest to have the full bachelor degree delivered in the school in Tajikistan. When I say school, the infrastructure that we have, and I invite the listeners, whoever is interested, to actually have a look at the website of the school. We have state-of-the-art infrastructure, replica to the best you could find here in the UK. We have one of the buildings ready for higher education and was intended for that. The language center at the school, which was supposed to meet the needs of all Tajik students, not just our students, but the general public, was supposed to start in July last summer. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to delay that. There is also a program that we are launching in April, and that's for training for industry, short courses. And we've selected about 18 areas where we can see the skill gap in Tajikistan. And these areas cover from basically leadership and management to some vocational type of courses. And we would welcome any education institution in the UK here interested in delivering some of its courses or offering some of its program in Tajikistan to work with Cambridge Worldwide Academy. And another area where we see an opportunity for higher education, and that's work placements. And we have been talking to a couple of universities, and we would like to talk to some more of British universities in terms of offering work placements to students who are studying teacher training, CELTA programs, education degrees, or some who are interested in Central Asian history, geography, to actually come and do some part-time work at the school and at the same time pursue their research and interests. There are a number of activities that we are engaged in at the moment to encourage as many British education institutions as possible to come to Tajikistan, or maybe not to come to Tajikistan, but to work with Tajikistan to meet the number of needs that we have identified over the last couple of years.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wakefield. I mean, this is a fascinating industry. And as you said, it's not just the education, the studying itself, it's very much an entire ecosystem of business and commerce and an export industry in its own right. This actually touches a lot on capacity building in itself, which is a huge topic to cover additionally. And I think it'd be very useful for anyone that is looking to actually go and explore a little bit more of this in detail to get in touch with, again, Dr. Wakefield and the remaining panelists, just to, again, see whether you can arrange something in terms of cooperation or go into a lot more depth for each one of these topics. Now, in the interest of time, I would just like to move on to our next panelist, Anissa Sabiri, who is the director of the Tajik Cultural Centre here in London, and she's also an alumni of the Achieving Scholarship. Anissa, as we've just heard from all our panelists, this Achieving Scholarship, the ecosystem that you participate in, and you've seen both sides, whether it's the UK and Tajikistan, where do you perhaps see these areas of collaboration going, and how would culturally that would be enhanced even further? And through your own work, could you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Thank you, Ilya. Thank you, everyone. As a Achieving alumna, I'm very happy to share my tuning experience as well as the post-tuning stage I am at the moment as a director of the Tajik Cultural Centre based in London. The Tuning Scholarship indeed is a great opportunity for the world leaders to improve the skills and build professional networking on the international score. And as a filmmaker, thanks to Tuning, I had a unique chance to develop my future project in one of the best film schools in the world, which is London Film School. And as a result, to meet my producers and to better understand the industry, indeed. But as Jocelyn and His Excellency have mentioned already, the Achieving Scholarship is also a leadership program, which requires the graduates to hugely contribute to their home countries. So I was happy to support, after my graduation, His Excellency's initiative to establishing the Tajik Cultural Centre based in London, which was launched on February 27th this year. And this newborn organization, which aimed to build the bridge between Tajikistan and the English-speaking world, of course, has the same approach as Achieving, because we want to unite the leaders in the cultural sphere who could contribute to the development of the culture in Tajikistan and abroad, to promote it and to represent it in a better way. As we see, we are doing this in right time, because the world's discourse at the moment, it's very encouraging to discover the new worlds as Central Asia, and Central Asia indeed has a very interesting and old ancient heritage. We have a lot to share, so that's what we are doing at the moment. And even though we just launched this organization recently, we already are developing 3 projects. One of them is an English online school, the Tajik online school, the Tajik language school, which is also a great opportunity for the Tajik people to learn English, because English is, again, one of the international languages which requires which is required for the education abroad, as well as to be part of the Chevening program. You definitely need to know English. And this is a great thing. A great thing. We are well, we are definitely looking for the cooperation with the English institutions, such as the institutions which are presented at this call, because indeed we are looking for the interns who want to find the opportunities in Tajikistan to learn that part of the world, to know the Tajik culture better, and this is part of a big culture which includes, of course, the Silk Road heritage and the Soviet times and the post-Soviet times. So it's a big discourse, which I think many scholars and researchers and the students could be interested in. So we are very happy to share our projects, and very soon we are going to establish the Tajik culture online platform, which will allow to the English-speaking world to know more about the Tajik culture, and it will be a Tajik and English platform about the Tajik heritage and different things like history, language, as well as the life in Tajikistan. Will present the cultural activists, the cultural participants, and we think that this will be a unique project, because there is nothing like that at the moment. Unfortunately, we can see that that Tajikistan is not very well presented in the English-speaking world. So we want to make it better. And the other project which we are working on at the moment is the Sarazm Worldwide. There is a historic site in Tajikistan, which is 5,500 years old, one of the most ancient urban sites in the world, part of the UNESCO heritage. And we are going to make an online virtual tour. So that would be also one of the first steps to visit Tajikistan online, which we hope will encourage people to come to Tajikistan in the future. So I'm looking forward to answer for the questions, if there will be any.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And you say, yes, we do have a few questions lined up. And we can now move on to Parviz Jamalov, just from the British Embassy in Dushanbe, on the micro aspect of the Chevening Scholarship. I wanted to raise a point, actually, in terms of, again, how students are supported and those applicants that are supported in this application process. Is there any chance for these quotas to, again, be increased, or perhaps for some kind of additional support to be given to the students and further collaboration aspects that you could think of?
Thank you very much, Ilya. Yeah, I'm very happy to be the part of this panel session, and let me just briefly provide you a short tour through our Chevening Scholarship here in Tajikistan. So Chevening nowadays is actually recognized one of the most popular programs here in Tajikistan, education programs, in terms of brand awareness. And over the past couple of years, the number of applications has increased exponentially. So last year we had a record number of applications. And of course, Jocelyn was right saying that the demand is huge and we need to work more on obtaining more slots for Tajikistan. But there are many factors that we should consider. One of the factors would be actually the demand, which is growing, and this actually serves as an impetus for us to get more for Tajikistan. And of course, a couple of other factors such as FCDOs, which is Foreign Office Priorities for Tajikistan, and other economic and political factors as well. But slowly we will be collaborating together with our FCDO and our Chevening Secretariat, and we are working towards increasing our quota, hopefully. And I can say that our Chevening alumni greatly benefited from this Chevening experience. And based on our observations, they have a very proven record of building up very successful careers in INGO sectors, for example, World Bank, UN, and other international structures. Some of them are championing our civil society, working on such issues as gender equality, human rights, and access to education, rule of law, etc. And of course, we have supported through Chevening Scholarship some of the local representatives of private sector who benefited from the Chevening experience and took their business into the whole new level. And yeah, they are running now very successful businesses here. So our embassy is very keen on collaborating with Chevening alumni, and there are a number of options we can offer here locally. First of all is our networking events. So we have a habit of inviting our Chevening alumni to different events we host, including Queen's birthday parties and thematic seminars and sessions. But it's been a challenge nowadays, of course, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But hopefully, when the things get back to normal, we will continue this wonderful practice. Of course, we also involve our Chevening alumni in some of our marketing activities, not only for promoting Chevening scholarship itself, but also to promote the UK as an attractive destination for academic experience, as a great place to study. And we actually supported some of our Chevening alumni through two funds that we have. One of this would be the Chevening Alumni Fund, which is offered by the Chevening Secretariat. And we also supported some of our alumni through our local international program fund. For example, Anissa has actually implemented a splendid project here locally, which received a global prominence. It was a great project to support film industry, and that was supported through our local fund, project fund. And speaking about the other priority, we are working actively to foster and promote English language here locally. So we have had a very good programs on teaching English language. We had a wonderful program which was titled as the English for Special Purposes, which basically taught English to more than 80 representatives of government structures, including ministries and state unit enterprises, civil society, media, and private sector. And based on our observation, most of the students who were enrolled in the course had really greatly benefited because it helped them to build up their careers. And now another project we are working on is now we are working jointly, collaborating with the British Council and a local implementer, an organization called Bactria, on the project to build the capacity of Tajik teachers here so that they could teach English here locally using some of the finest methodologies by the British Council. And now given of course we have to be more flexible, and we are now adapting this project so that it could fit the realities of nowadays. And by the end of the day, using online methodologies, we will have 10 teachers here who would be capable of teaching English in accordance with British Council standards. And getting back to a question, Ilya, we offer a great support here to Chevening applicants. We run a very extensive marketing campaign here, which was run actually solely online this year due to COVID-19 pandemic. Nevertheless, I personally, as a Chevening officer, I consult lots of people here who message me on social media or used to meet in person. And we actually have a habit of producing some educational tutorials. So this year we produced a very short video on how to write an effective Chevening essay, which was based on the feedback provided by the independent Chevening Reading Committee, as well as our own observations. So the consultancy support is in place. We try to do our best to help local people, local applicants to submit a successful Chevening application. Thank you. If there are any questions, we'd be happy to respond to them. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that very good introduction and overview of the work that you do at the British Embassy in Dushanbe. Now I'd like to move on to the Q&A session. We have quite a large number of questions that have come in through the audience for a lot of our panelists. And again, I would like to actually begin with the more education and studying side of the questions. This question is directed to Pro Vice Chancellor Chris Chang from Paris Share. And she would like to know can distance learning, is there any scope for distance learning to become more cheaper for perhaps students that are quite smart, but who may have financial difficulties in being able to access it? And we did discuss a little bit about more of the distance learning becoming a bigger part with the, again, technology developments that we've had.
I need to unmute myself. I do apologize. I should be getting good at this after 9 months on Zoom.
Very 2020.
Yeah, apologies for that. The short answer is there is a lot of distance learning provision across both UK, US, and other parts of the world, and they are priced differently. I mean, at the moment, we have pure distance learning courses which are priced quite competitively, which is at a different level from on-campus delivery because they offer a different experience. The point about on-campus is that they offer the whole university experience, the engagement with other classmates here on campus, living in a different culture. But we understand that some students will not be able to have that opportunity. So distance learning does deliver that way. I believe at University of Portsmouth, we are delivering our courses at a competitive rate. I think it's much lower than the on-campus. I don't have the exact figures in mind. But that they offer an opportunity for students to sign up and follow our courses online. In a way, we have this in areas of criminal justice. We have it on risk management and crisis management courses, and a few other courses. We are seeking to grow this area of digital delivery in the next 3 years. We have just started and appointed a director of digital and distributed learning, who will lead our digital strategy. So in the next couple of years, you'll see more digital online delivery from the University of Portsmouth hitting the markets. How that's priced will depend on the nature of the course, what is being delivered, and whether we work in conjunction with local partners.
Fantastic. That is, again, very good to hear that there is a lot of work going on around behind the scenes, and again, more of it will be seen in the near future. We also have an additional question from the research aspect of, again, the students based in Tajikistan. We have an individual called Galmo, who is a researcher at the Academy of Science of Tajikistan and is preparing a research paper on relationship between Tajikistan and Great Britain, and would like to actually find out how could they potentially have their research get involved with UK universities. Is it possible for them to complete any of their research with universities in the UK? Perhaps, again, would any of the panelists like to entertain that idea?
I can start and maybe my colleagues can join in. I mean, at the first instant is to find a reciprocal researcher in another university. Now, it's about meeting someone of like minds, colleagues who will also be looking at the education system in Tajikistan, for example. And then they can have the discussion to see how they can collaborate the research. And most universities will have the ability to bring in visiting researchers, visiting academics for a short period of time. And some will charge a minimal amount of fees, some will provide that free. There's various models. But so the first thing is through the help of perhaps British Council, British Embassy, or even the Tajikistan Embassy in London, is to put the researcher in touch with those universities that have a specialist in that research area that he or she is interested in researching in, and then to meet up with individuals. Research is a very personal thing. It's not usually done at institution level, it's done at individual level. That provides the most impactful research. So the trick is finding the right personality to link up with. And I think British Council particularly the best place to link it up with other universities that have, or other researchers that have like-minded interests.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Chris. So it's very much, again, there is a lot of opportunity for individuals to go about it. It's just that they do need to find somebody that is also interested in that field and will be able to take on, again, some form of collaboration on a peer-to-peer level or even institutional level.
Also, Ilya, should be noted that all the projects that we're talking about, the projects that we are implementing through the Cultural Center, Anissa can tell more. All these projects are implementing with scientists and people who are making research on those areas, who are working for Academy of Science of Tajikistan, or some individuals who would like to be involved in such projects. So it's a big area which we can attract people from Tajikistan.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And Anissa, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, I just would like to say that we have a very wide network of people who work in science, in history and culture, and we will be very happy to provide any consultancy and build these connections, because as I said, we aim to be as a bridge between the English-speaking world and Tajikistan, so we are very happy to contribute. So please, let us know if any researchers or students want to collaborate with someone or need any assistance.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anissa. And again, anyone that is in the attendees section, you are very welcome to reach out directly to the Cultural Center to find out a little more about that. I'd like to move on to our next question from Shuhrat Nazarkhudoyev. And he says that he was selected as a Chevening reserve candidate for the scholarship of 2020 to 2021. Will the Secretariat see this as a consideration for 2021 to 2022? And will this increase his chances? Jocelyn, I think you're best positioned to answer this.
Sure. Hi, Shukrat. Thank you for your question, and congratulations, firstly, on reaching the reserve stage of the Chevening scholarships. That's a huge achievement in itself, as we had over, I think it was 50,000 applications last year. So congratulations on reaching that stage. In fact, we assess applications year on year. So you would have to make a fresh application this year. That being said, you know, I'm sure the panel will remember you if you got to the reserve stage, and we have many scholars who have actually applied several times to be a Chevening scholar. So there's a lot of hope there, and I wish you all the best if you have made an application for this year as well.
Excellent. So I hope that helps you, Shukra. Thank you so much, Justin, for answering that question. And now I'd like to move on to a little bit more on the commercial side, and we have a few questions in this field. We have one from Tom Lee, and this question relates to British private schools, which are now opening franchises overseas. And is there, from the panelists, a sense that there is truly enough of a market for this concept in Tajikistan? And if so, is there any interest to approach any British educational establishments? And again, Tom, we do have Dr. Wakefield, who has successfully done this as a great example, but by all means, panelists, you're welcome to elaborate.
Is the question to myself?
Yes, but it's an open question, but it's more on just generally, is the market large enough? What do you think? Is there more opportunity for additional development of this sector?
Tajikistan is not a large market for, I would say, international private institutions. It has a small population that I would say probably the desire, let's put it this way, the desire and the aspirations of both students and parents for good education is there. But the market is small in terms of the number of parents or students who probably would have the financial ability to attend a lot of numerous international schools. I'm not so sure whether I articulated that properly. At the moment, there are a number of private schools in Tajikistan. Some are local. There is an American school that's been established for quite a while. There is another private school called DIS, and there is, of course, the first British school, which is Cambridge Worldwide Academy. So the market has enough provision, I would say, of private education. If you compare it, and I understand, I think the question, if you compare Tajikistan probably to Kazakhstan, and we stay in the same region, the market for numerous international schools in Kazakhstan is greater. What Tajikistan, in my view, needs, it doesn't need too many institutions of the same. I can see, for example, gaps in the further and vocational education sector that hasn't been, I would say, provided for properly. So there is opportunity there or for providers from the UK or any other country to actually provide education services there. Higher education is another one, hence our talk today. There is a bigger market there, but at school level, no. Training, if I might add, training as well. Short courses, you know, talking about training, there is an opportunity there because there are a very small number of providers from, to my knowledge, German and Russian, who are actually providing short courses. And it's on an ad hoc basis, it's not organized. There isn't a clear presence of a number of, I would say, training companies or training institutes with international provision. So that is a huge market for all sectors, whether you're talking about hospitality, tourism, and Tajikistan has a massive potential, for example, in tourism. And those sectors would need a lot of training and would benefit from good quality programs in that sector. Hospitality is another one. Healthcare is another one. So in terms of training, there is massive opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Wakefield. That is, again, a very comprehensive answer. And as we know, yes, the market is, of course, still very much in its infancy for a lot of these sectors with future growth potential still yet to come. Well, there is actually ways that the UK side and the Tajik side could grow this even further by, again, establishing official corporations. So instead of consistently building entire branches, perhaps start smaller first. We've had a question come through to this in terms of, again, what kind of partnerships or initiatives are there that promote educational links between Tajikistan and the UK that are actually coming in the near future? And this is a question from Will Knott.
All right, I would like to respond to this question, if I may.
Of course.
Thanks for the question. So basically, our project priorities are defined by the FCDO centrally, and they vary from year to year. So currently, the main priority is, of course, COVID-19. So we're trying to tackle the negative consequences of COVID-19 here in Tajikistan. And but over the next year, we might have we have different priorities, including, of course, English language training. And one of the priorities, one of the projects that we have been supporting from last year, and it has been automatically extended to this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, is the building capacity of English language trainers and teachers here in Tajikistan. So this is one of the initiatives we are now working on. So we would like to develop a very comprehensive and very good approach toward teaching language here. But given so based on my experience, the propensity of the sort of initiatives we support locally through our international program fund is a specific type of English. So we prefer not to we don't really provide generic English language training, but we are more to support some special English courses required for specific jobs. For example, English for entrepreneurs, or business communications in English, or English for teachers. So those are kind of initiatives that we would like to see. And I will provide my contact information. Should you have any ideas, please feel free to just message us, just drop us an email, and we can take that into consideration, because we do have an experience collaborating and funding British NGOs who actually implemented very good projects here in Tajikistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Parviz. Again, that's a very comprehensive answer. We've actually had an interesting question come in from Richard Lovell Knight, and he explains that, again, for education to develop, you need both NGO governments to invest simultaneously. And as an example, British Council was still not as involved as perhaps it could be in the future. And were there any hurdles that, again, perhaps slow down investment opportunities due to, again, whether it's issues in security or some form of security concern that may exist? And can British companies play a more active role in encouraging general investment?
Ilya, if I may.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you for question. A very good question, because it's very popular topic when I'm meeting with people here in the UK. The only hurdle that I saw during these 2 years, it's a level of awareness about Tajikistan, about what is Tajikistan and how the condition in Tajikistan. That's exactly what I'm trying to change, because people is not so aware about Tajikistan here in the UK. Security, you know that due to the assessment of several magazines and sources who are making those assessments every year, Tajikistan is on the very high level, and there are no issues with security, happily. That's why, even in my opinion, actually, Tajikistan can be the center of education, not for our people and citizens, but for people of Afghanistan and Iran, while it's not so stable in Afghanistan and more closed in Iran. That's why we can make Tajikistan like a place who those people can get an access to the Western education system, because we share one language in those countries. You know, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Iran speak one language. That's why it's very comfortable for them to study in Tajikistan. And as we know, there are a lot of people from actually India who are learning mostly in medical institution of Tajikistan, and because it's a safe place, and second, it's not so costly as in those countries. That's why no, I could not see any blocking point. Just the level of information and awareness about my country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We move on to just our penultimate question from Steve King. And Steve King is from the Cambridge Partnership for Education, which is a part of the University of Cambridge. And he would like to find out, does the new FCDO have any plans to implement projects to strengthen K-12 education in Tajikistan?
Yes, I think I'm capable of responding to this question. Thank you very much, Steve. Well, as you know, it's not been quite a long time since the FCDO has been formed and the Foreign Office and the DFID merged. And now they're still defining the priorities. Of course, the top priority is the tackling COVID-19 and economic effects. There are some lasting priorities for Tajikistan, including economic development, of course, and human rights. There haven't been anything specific regarding the K-12 education. But again, let me again emphasize that every year we redefine our priorities. So maybe next year, starting from the next financial year, which is coming up on April 2021, education could be, K-12 education could be among the priorities. And for that, we need to make the business case. So I'm happy to take this conversation forward with you in private. I will send you my contact details. Thanks for the question.
Thank you so much, Parviz. And again, we've had a tremendous number of questions coming in generally regarding the education, the commercial side of things. I'd actually like to address a couple of questions that have come in terms of more on the UK side, where we've been asked, where can actually a lot of these details and contact details for whether it's companies or representatives of universities can be found, and we'll gladly share those. So if anyone would like any specific details, whether it's on companies in the UK or of anybody here that is part of the panel, please feel free to actually directly reach out to any one of us or directly to the Chamber of Commerce or the embassies themselves. Now, we've had quite an interesting question actually coming in terms of UK export companies and how do they do business on the Asian markets. Well, often they do this, again, as part of a satellite office or at an exploration stage if they're going in for something that is a little bit new. This is usually done with a local partner or together with the government. And the Chamber of Commerce itself is very much involved with these companies. We work directly with them to ensure that they have a lot of connections that basically give them the baseline and the groundwork, which allows them to do the exploration, as well as get all the information prepared beforehand to then reduce any costs that they may incur in the future and in the short term as well. You can actually find lists of UK companies, again, on British export lists through the Department for International Trade. And as well as that, every company that is UK registered has a company's house address where you can see the names of the individuals who are directors of those companies, as well as their registered office addresses. So that is one sort of tip that I would suggest if you are researching any export companies in the UK that you would like to see or contact directly and perhaps research a little bit more about. So without any further interjections, we are pretty much wrapping up the session. So I will now transfer this over to Joe, who will be concluding this session for us. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Any additional questions you may have, please write it to us at info@tajikbritishchamber.com. Again, you can go to our website or reach out to anyone directly as well.